Welcome to MMA Fancast. I am honored to have four-time Pennsylvania State Wrestling Champion Gavin Teasdale on the show. Gavin, welcome back on the show.
Yeah, good to be back on.
It's nice to have you back on. I've had you on a couple times talking about your transition from being a four-time state champion at Jeff Morgan High School, all 4 of your years in high school. Now you're training at the shop. You're just finished practice. You can see it in the background there. And so you officially have your debut amateur fight set, Brawl in the Berg 10 for 247 Fighting Championships, February 5th, Monroeville Convention Center versus Tyler Fry. And so I just wanted to get your thoughts now that you're about a month out.
My thought is the same as it was 2 months back. Go out there, do my job. And as long as I just go out there, it doesn't matter how flashy it looks. I'm going to go out there and take it to them.
It's a great mindset to have for your amateur debut, you know, having that game ready mindset. You've been training at the shop now for the last couple months. How's that been going as far as teaching at the shop? I know you did a seminar on wrestling for the younger guys, and then also learning the MMA components. How's that been going?
It's going good. Seeing like the different talent up and coming. A lot of these like younger wrestlers, you can see yourselves in them. So you like want what's best, but going from the wrestling mentality of being like an athlete to the coaching, and obviously I'm still competing like myself, is like a different experience for me, but it's been going great.
What has been the most surprising part as a wrestler of transitioning from just being an athlete to being a coach, giving critique, particularly when you're doing seminars?
The chain wrestling part, like I seen like younger athletes, like they shoot and stop. And I didn't really see that in like myself, like how good like I was like at chain wrestling, but it just puts it into perspective. Like when dudes are first starting out wrestling, like how much goes into it, coming like different techniques, and it's like a chess match. Same as this fight game, it comes hand in hand.
It really does. I think that's why wrestling is such a great base for MMA. I guess you should say high level wrestling, because we've seen wrestlers at MMA transition poorly. If they only do one attack and stop, that's when people get caught in guillotines because they haven't transitioned. And it's really the fluidity. And I think what you're pointing out is, as a young wrestler, you kind of forget how much effort it took to go from just doing one shot to now where you are, where you're constantly transitioning from single to double, and you're just constantly moving through your paces, whereas a young wrestler, you haven't. Given all your 4 state championship wins, what pressure or what environment was the most big, or I wouldn't say stressful? What was the biggest environment? Because going into this fight, the environment of MMA tends to be very loud. The crowd tends to get very excited, and you're going to be fighting. Brawl in the Berg 10 has Kama Worthy coming back from the UFC. It's just smashed with talent. There's going to be a ton of people. It's probably going to be sold out, all that stuff. So go back into your history. What was the wrestling match or matches that you had that kind of felt the largest as far as crowd noise goes?
Well, crowd noise, probably like a Fargo venue. Obviously, PIA winning like 4 state titles.
Yeah.
But honestly, like when you go on the mat, you can't think of like anybody that's watching, because you got a job to do when you go out there. So I kind of stay to myself when I would go to those type of tournaments, because you can let the pressure get to you very easily. Like you go out there and you may think that you got this, and you get like all nervous, you get the nerves, all that shit get to you. Well, what's the point of doing all these workouts if you're going to go out there and get all nervous? It just doesn't make any sense. So I've obviously competed on like world team stages, state team like stages. So I mean, a venue like this shouldn't be any issue for me, because I know how to deal with pressure.
Yeah, I think like what you said, it's really about what you do mentally with the pressure, because one of the things that anybody in wrestling or fighting deals with is the fact that you want to perform, and you want to perform well, and you have to allow your body to perform well by not doing too much pressure mentally. So it's kind of like,
yeah, it's muscle memory. Like when you go out there, you got to perform. Like he's gonna bring his best against you, and you're gonna bring your best against him. So it just comes down to who wants it more and who's willing to go out there and let it all go.
Of course. And in this being your novice amateur debut in Pennsylvania, there's a lot of limits as far as limitations rule set wise goes, which I know as a wrestler, if you're able to get on top, you have some things you can do, submissions, ground and pound from the collarbone down, but you can't hit to the face on the ground, which is a bit of a limit for a wrestler, because at the pro level, if a wrestler gets on top of somebody, it usually spells disaster. But it gives you an opportunity to work. You're training at the shop, but I know both Taylor Cahill and Tanner recently made that transition from good wrestler into MMA, and they both picked up some things as far as what works or what it felt like. How helpful have they been in just kind of in some of those scenario planning for the first time you get in there?
Yeah, we're getting each other better. Obviously, like they have things that are different than what other people like have, and I have things like they're very good at like strength, so they're getting me better at strength. I'm getting that better at speed. So it's just we're taking like bits and pieces that we're both good at to getting each other better. But yeah, you can't go with a competitive mindset. You just got to go in getting better every day, because you can easily get caught up in I'm going to destroy this guy, destroy that guy in like a workout. And usually you're not getting better in those. So you just got to like go in there and not take it too serious. That's what it comes down to. Like in wrestling, I started taking it serious. I really wasn't learning when I came to workouts, but I just got to the point like where you accept it. That's going to be tough when you go in there and you're not thinking about how tired you get. Cause I don't know, like it seems like when you go in like a lot of wrestling matches or like fights, if you think about yourself getting tired, you get tired a lot quicker. So if you put your mind in a different place when you're out there, I don't think you put yourself in a better place.
Yeah, that goes back to the mental. I think that's the humility that it takes in a wrestling room or in an MMA gym to kind of have rough rounds, to do all the work you need to do, so that way you can be a champion and have the glamour and the glory in the cage or on the mat. I think that's one of the hard parts. A lot of people, if they get into wrestling or MMA for kind of to never lose, they forget the fact that in training, you're going to have a lot of rough days. You got to put yourself in position. I've seen a lot of high level MMA fighters saying that if you're a really good MMA fighter or wrestler and you're training against people that aren't at that talent level, that you have to handicap yourself. Like some of them, DC Cormier talked about, he would only shoot certain things, or he'd only use one arm, or, he'd try to do different things to make it competitive for himself so that he's not just in there beating up people that aren't at his level, which is, I think, what's exciting about the mindset you bring. You are facing somebody who has quite a bit, even though he's 0-1 as far as his MMA, he has a lot of Muay Thai and stand-up kickboxing, got a couple amateur belts, that type of stuff, did a lot in the kickboxing stance. How important is it for you to know that you're going in there against somebody who's going to have a little bit more experience in striking, which is one of your weaknesses? Is that kind of a good competition to have?
Well, I've been training with all different positions, like jiu-jitsu guys, Muay Thai guys, striker guys. So I've faced the best of the best in workouts and sparring. So I know what to expect. I know there's a lot that goes into it that people don't see. When you're on your feet, you got to worry about elbows, strikes, knees, kicks. There's a lot of shit, takedowns, anything. You can get caught in anything. So when you're out there, if you put yourself in those positions and practices and take yourself out of your comfort zone, like you said, not be afraid, like to put yourself in positions, then that's just going to prepare you best for a fight.
Yeah, great answer, champ. Obviously, that comes from years of training against the best in your wrestling, and now in your MMA world, you have to have that mindset. When you were learning or are learning striking, what's something that you are transitioning well? Like I often think wrestlers, particularly fast, speedy, technical wrestlers like yourself, have a lot of great footwork. Is that something that transitioned well? Really good footwork, movement?
Yeah, footwork, shoulder movement. Because the shoulder movement, like the jab, 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 like if you actually look at wrestling, you're shooting at a downward angle and you're trying to get to somebody's leg. And striking, you're throwing the arm out at like an upward angle. But if you know how to apply throwing your body into it and throwing a punch at like an upward angle, that's where you're transitioning to, and then getting into your takedowns and getting into where you feel like most comfortable with. But transition's been pretty good all in all.
It really makes a lot of sense. It's also nice to hear that you're already seeing how something as fundamental as a jab can apply right into the base that you already have. I think a lot of wrestlers that go into MMA, they are either striking, or you can kind of see the switch and they almost like crouch down and they go into wrestling. And it's really nice to see that you're adding on striking into your already game set, so it'll be smooth and fluid, which is which is a, really good thing. I had a pretty good wrestler on a couple days ago. I was doing an interview, and he's fighting for the 135-pound belt. He's 6-0, Hunter, undefeated, and he had a college wrestling background. He said when he was transitioning from wrestling to MMA, he taught himself two big techniques, which was always throw a punch first, like you mentioned, jab, and that way you're setting up something with your shot. But then he also mentioned technically, and I don't know what you want to say or not say technically, but he said that technically he never shoots for the back leg. He always shoots for the front leg because in MMA, he doesn't want to get caught with guillotines and other things. Have you kind of picked out what shots work best for you? You don't have to say them, but in his mind, he just gave up shooting to the back leg because as a wrestler going to MMA, he wanted to make sure he was being smart. Have you kind of picked up what of your shots work best?
Yeah, so obviously my power punch is going to be like an overhand right because I'm like a righty fighter. But like when I wrestled, like the position I have in wrestling, you start with your right leg forward. In the fight game, you start with your left leg forward and you're penetrating off the opposite leg. But it's the same exact thing because I was an unorthodox wrestler. I could hit shit from lefty and righty. But you got to obviously make sure when you're shooting on a leg attack, get him thinking about punches, kicks, knees before you take that attack. And when you do take that attack, you want to be in good position. Blast right through him because you don't want to get caught in a guillotine, arm bar. You don't want to get extended or anything like that. So you got to stay real tight and compact and get to where you feel like comfortable, but not making yourself vulnerable in the process.
And keep that explosivity. So that way, like you're talking about being compact, so that if you do get into something, you can explode out of it. Another thing that you just pointed out, being an unorthodox wrestler, is the ability to switch front leg, rear leg is really important because in kickboxing or MMA, that foot changes. Like, if you miss a kick or block a kick, that foot can change a lot. You also mentioned an overhand right. There's a lot of boxing technique where you could kind of do almost like a walking through where you do the overhand right, switch your rear leg to your front leg, and then you're in your right leg forward type thing. So there's a lot to play with, which is really cool. Well, what do you want to see the most out of yourself? February 5th, Brawl in the Berg 10. Everybody needs to get tickets from you, from the guys at the shop. It's going to be absolutely incredible. From the pro all the way down to the amateur debuters, it's absolutely stacked. There are 2 amateur MMA titles on the line. It's really an exciting night. But what do you want to see out of yourself as far as the expectations? Being as seasoned of a competitor as you are, I know you have a good mindset of what to expect of yourself. So what do you want to see from Gavin Teasdale February 5th?
Same exact style as I had in wrestling. I'm not going to be defensive ever. I'm going to take the pressure to him and I'm going to get to what I'm good at. I'm going to throw 100 tags at you and I can knock you out from anywhere and I can take you to the ground, beat you from anywhere. So as long as I'm getting it good at all 3 positions, that's all I expect out of myself. But obviously when I go out there, you got to fight a smart fight and respect what he has. But I also know what I'm good at and I'm going to get to my positions one way or another.
That's a great mindset to have. I appreciate you taking time out to come back on the show and give us an update. It's really exciting to see you officially matched, officially ready to represent the shop and really bring your talent and expectations into it. You're an exciting wrestler. There's a lot of people out there that know what type of a wrestler you were, the offense heavy chain wrestling, and that is going to be very exciting to see you do it in MMA for Brawl in the Berg 10 247 Fighting Championships. Thanks so much, Champ, for coming on the show. Can't wait to see you live February 5th.
Oh yeah, see you then.
You got it. All right, thanks a lot.
Hey, you have a good one, Luke.
You got it.